Alright, your boy Otaku Phil. It's my second part of helping you guys pass the CDL for bus. Um, now, I didn't, because I'm helping you guys because I didn't see too many informative videos. I've seen a couple videos where people tried to show some of the skills and stuff like that. But I want to break some of it down to help you guys. So, when you come to the DMV test, you're going to have to do a skills course. So the skills course, will consist of several exercises that will have to do with maneuvering the bus safely, and then you're gonna have to do the on-the-street driving. Don't worry about the on-the-street driving. It's simple. On-the-street driving is just simply they're gonna have you drive around the block, maybe hop on the highway, maybe do some tight turns. The important thing to remember about the on-the-road portion is make sure you're doing the proper speeds. Make sure you're 10 miles below or 10 miles or no more than 10 miles below or 10 miles above the speed limit. Make sure you're stopping at every stop sign. Make sure you stop at, railroad crossing. You put those hazards on. You open the door or open the window, depending on your state. Some states require, you open the door. Some states don't. So make sure that you're following those safety rules that they taught you in your school for your drive along. Make sure you got all that stuff covered. Otherwise, you might inadvertently get failed from your test. So, sorry, messing around with my camera here. So the driving portion is easy. Just keep doing what you know how to do. Keep just go nice and slow. Take your time. You don't have to go fast. We know you know what you're doing, or you might be a little nervous. Just make sure you're following those basic rules. So the more important part is the skills, is the actual skills part, and the skills is you're gonna have several exercises that you're gonna do. So for California, I don't know, it might be the same for your state, might be different for your state. You have several things that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to do a parallel park. You're going to have to do the offset alley. You're going to have to do straight in, straight out. You might have to do opposite parallel park. You might have to do a serpentine. Maybe not, depending on your state. We didn't have to do serpentine. We trained serpentine, but it wasn't part of the test. I'm trying to think what else did you have to do. I think that was about it. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the ones that you're mostly going to do. Now, for me, when I did mine, I had to do the straight in, straight out. I had to do the augmented alley. And I had to do... or not the augmented alley, I'm sorry, the offset reverse. Augmented alley is where you come up and then go straight, and then come up, make a right, and then go straight. I had to do the offset reverse. So you come up, and then you go to the side, and then come back. So I had to do the offset reverse deal, and then I had to do a parallel park, a normal parallel park, so it wasn't on the opposite, it's on my left side. So, again, take your time, go nice and slow when you're doing the skills course. They're not gonna hit you. There's no time limit. They're not gonna hit you up because you're going too slow trying to parallel park. No. The important thing is recognize your go no go. So if you're training through, especially through Greyhound, I'm sure it's the same for a lot of companies. You want to recognize go no go. That's situations in where you feel like you're not gonna make it. You need to recognize that there is gonna be a point to where you just can't go. You're too close, you're too far, you're gonna hit something. Stop. So in Los Angeles, or in California I should say, they give you a certain amount of times in which you can get out and reevaluate what you're doing. So when I, for example, parallel parking, when I did my parallel parking, they give you one free time in which you can get out and reevaluate where you're at. And then after that, every time you get out of your seat to reevaluate, I think they take away like 2 points, and you can get a maximum, I think, of like I think you can get a maximum of like 4 or 6 points taken away. So they give you at least like 2 or 3 times that you can get out and walk around and reevaluate. Take it. Take at least that first one, even if you think you're lined up right. Before you start making that turn in, or before you start finalizing that back up, stop the bus, get out, and look around. You know, you know, for us, when we did training through Greyhound, they did really tight. They tightened up all of the exercises so that when we got there, it was a lot easier because we'd think it'd be tight, but it was tons of space. So I had yeah. So when I did my parallel, I got out once. I walked around. I reevaluated before when I first backed up into it to make sure that I was lined up right and before I made my turn in. And by the time I looked at it, I was like, holy shit! I have tons of space, tons of space. So I backed it up, got in there, you know, squared it off. The proctor was like, "Are you done?" As soon as she said, "Are you done?" I knew I needed to double check. So I used 1 point or my 2 points, and I got out and I double checked again to find out that the tail of the bus was slightly out of the box. You had to be lined up within that cone at the edge of the box, and my tail was just slightly out. So if I would have been like, "Yeah, I'm done," I'd have failed that part. It would have sucked. So I took that time. I got out. I looked around, and I was like, "Oh, almost in. Just gotta pull it back just a little bit more, and boom, I'm in." Pulled it back just that few inches, and I was like, "That should be it. I'm good." And I passed. I passed my first time. I passed with no errors, no issues. Boom, no problem. So take your time. Go slow. I'll follow this up with some of the exercises or some deals. Maybe I'll just draw it on there, whatever. So take your time, practice your skills. It's not that big a deal. It's really not. Just remember your basic turns. Remember your basic references, where to look. Especially when you're doing your parallel park. Make sure you get that steering wheel over hard. Make sure you recognize that point that you need to start turning into it. Make sure you're constantly checking your mirrors. Constantly checking your mirrors. Don't be in a rush. Don't think, "Oh, I got this," boom, and the next thing you know, you're hitting some shit. No, take your time. All right. I'll follow this up with a little brief exercise using my mini bus here, just to give you a brief layout of how some of the skills that we have to deal with. Your skills may be different, but this is basically how our skills are in California. All right, guys, it's your boy Taco Phil here. So this is my little example. Yeah, I like that, right? Because this is what happens when you got nothing but time on your hands. So these are my little cones. I'm using these awesome little incense stick steels here I got here as my miniature cones. So this is a top-down view. Imagine this is a typical course. Yeah, I'd say this is a typical course. All right. So this is kind of how it was set up when I did mine with the cones. Okay. So, the important thing to remember is you've got these thresholds. And I set it up with this color coordination with that specific thing in mind. So, imagine these are your yellow cones. Imagine these are maybe some red cones. And yellow cones, these are your boundaries here. These red cones here, your boundaries. Red cones, your boundaries. Again, might be set up differently in your place. But this is how it was set up for me, just to give you an example. Just to give you an example of how the skills test will go. So, first and foremost, before anything, make sure your seatbelt is on. I think of how many times I've heard people get failed because they start the maneuvers, and what do? They forget to put their bloody seatbelt on. Make sure your seatbelt is on. Make sure your seatbelt is on. Make sure you have positive control of that bus. Make sure your seatbelt is on. If you move that bus an inch without your seatbelt on in the state of California, that's an automatic fail. So make sure your seatbelt is on. So, what I had to do is the straight in, straight out. It was the first thing I had to do. So basically, straight in, straight out, you're going to line up your bus with the nose of it before the first two sets of cones. You're going to take that bus, you're going to bring it straight forward until the rear of the bus clears the last set of cones. There's there. Going to clear that last set of cones, and then you're going to back it up. until you've cleared that front set of cones. Now the only difficult thing here is just make sure you have positive control of the bus when you're going forward and back. Make sure you keep that nose and that tail straight. Make sure you don't bump into anything. It's going to be up to you to know when you've cleared the rear. So keep an eye out for when you've cleared the rear. Know your reference points and all that good stuff. But that's probably going to be your easiest part. Straight in, straight out. Okay? Now my second test on my skills was the augmented alley. Or not the augment, I keep saying augmented alley. The offset reverse, sorry. So with the offset reverse, all you're going to do is, this is your threshold. You've got two sets now. You've got to worry about this set, and this is your threshold here. So all you're going to do is you're going to pull that bad boy forward so the tail clears. We'll make sure that tail clears that first set of cones. Bring it as far forward as you can. Okay? As far forward as you can. Once you bring it as far forward as you can, you know, kick that freaking steering wheel all the way over to the left. Get those tires pointing this way. Hard, hard, hard to the left. Now, important thing when you're doing this is when you start moving, continue to turn that to the left, because you'll have a little bit of play once you start moving, and you want to continue to turn it all the way to the left. What that'll do is that'll start turning that tail of the bus. That front end will start swinging out as you're coming back. Now, make sure you give yourself a lot of room by turning it as hard as you can before moving. Make sure you completely stop. Start turning that steering wheel to the left as hard as you can. Get those wheels over to the left as hard as you can. Then, start slowly moving and maneuvering the tail of that bus. Okay? So, what you want to do is you want to get this beautiful view here where you have the cone on the right or the passenger side in view and the cone on your left in view. Okay? Then you're basically going to start backing that bad boy up. You can straighten out those wheels, start backing that bad boy up. Right? Cock that steering wheel all the way over to the right or to the passenger side and start lining it up. Now the key here is this middle set of cones. You're going to start cocking it over. Once that middle set of cones comes into view, you can start bringing it back even more, and then you can just take your view to that last set of cones. So on your back driver's side, you should see this last cone here within line of sight. Once it's in line of sight, straighten that wheel out, and you should be able to just push it all the way back till you clear the last set of cones. Boom, offset, all done. See how easy that was? So just remember, recap. Bring it forward, stop, cock that steering wheel over to the left, start coming back. Once you've got this cone on the passenger side in sight, you've got your and you've got the one on the driver's in sight, start bringing it back. All right. Once that cone comes close to the tail, start bringing it over. Get that second set of cones inside on your driver's side. Start bringing it back. Start turning and keep turning. Get that last set of cones in sight. Straighten it out and bring it on back. That's the offset reverse. So I had to do that. It can be a little nerve-wracking, but you'll be fine. You know, again, they give you one chance to get out, double check, make sure that you're clear. If you feel you need to take it, take it. All right? Now, the last thing I had to do was the parallel park. So, parallel park, you're going to start with the nose. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. So, you can start with your nose before the first set of cones. This is going to be your threshold here. And the idea is to get that bus lined up in here within the inside of each cone without hitting any cones. Now, this is where it's going to become important to know your pivot point and know your references. So, for this kind of bus, it might be different for your bus, it might be different for different companies, it might be even different in different states. But in California, what you're going to do is you're going to bring that bus up. We're going to line it until the rear of the bus is about the rear, or a little bit past the rear of the last set of cones. You're gonna cock that steering wheel all the way over to your left, or to your driver's side. All right, and then you're gonna start bringing that bus back. Watch, make sure you're clear of your pivot point here. And this is the trick. The trick is you're going to get that passenger mirror to line up with the cone at the far. He goes with the cone on this end here, on the far threshold here. Once you have that line up right here, once you see it, straighten that wheel out and bring it straight back. The next thing is you're going to watch for that point. Actually, I just realized this is the opposite side. I'll show you both sides. So on this side, it's a lot easier. So once that cone comes to about the wheel, or your left shoulder is a good reference point here. On your left-hand side here, you're going to cock that steering wheel all the way to the passenger side. So turn it to the right. And while continuing to come back, you're going to just smooth that bad boy in, and boom. The left side's a lot easier. Alright? So that's how you basically do that left side. Real simple. Make sure you get out, walk around, make sure you got plenty of space, make sure you're inside the lines. All done. Now I'm going to show you the opposite way, which is most likely the way you're going to get, which is going to be the right hand side, because this is the most common one. So, you start down here, front of your bus, behind, bring that bus up till it clears. Right? So you want to get it at about the back of the cone. The back of your bus is set up about the back of the cone. Don't be afraid to get out and double check. Make sure you're all set up. Cock that steering wheel all the way to the passenger side. You know, start bringing that bus back slowly. It's going to want to turn around that cone. And as you're bringing it up, you're going to bring that driver's side mirror, line it up. Bring it out a little bit. Line it up with that last cone all the way to the right. You should be able to see it as soon as you see it. Just go straight on back. Now this one can be a little hard because depending on your bus, you may or may not have a window. So you should be able to see this far cone here in your passenger mirror. There's going to be a point in which it disappears from that mirror. Typically, we like to do door. Once it's in the middle point right here of your door, you want to start turning in and the bus should clear it. If you don't have that mirror, if you don't have that glass in your door, you can't see where it is. What I was taught was give it about 3 seconds. So if you're coming back nice and slow, give it 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. It should line up with that door. Then you can cock it all the way to the driver's side, to the left side, and while slowly moving back, you should be able to clear it and line it up. Now, don't be afraid if you feel like you're too tight, you feel like you're back here for some reason, just bring it forward and line it up. The important thing is make sure you're clear on the left-hand side and you're inside the box. If you're inside the box, you're good to go. Okay? And that right there is a passing skills course. Real simple. In the rare case, they might have you do an offset alley. Let's see if I set up for an offset alley real quick. The offset alley is real simple. I'll do it this way. Take these guys, and we'll do it this way. Basically, we're taking this, we're going to back these out. Maybe not that far. It's about right here. We'll move it this way. So this right here, this setup right here is kind of an offset alley. It's not the most precise, but it's real simple. Just as simple as any of the other maneuvers. We're going to start here at the bottom. Here goes at your first set of cones. Alright? This is where you, again, you want to know your pivot point. You're going to bring that bad boy forward. Once you've gotten to your pivot point, you know your pivot point here. You want to take that bad boy all the way over to the left. Don't be afraid to stop. Don't be afraid to go slow. You're going to bring that bus over. So this is where a lot of people mess up, and I used to mess it up a lot, is when you're coming over and you start bringing it up, you think this is where you want to start turning. What's going to happen is if you start turning here, you're going to hit that inside cone. Remember, the good thing to remember is you sit in front of your tires. So don't think about where you are. Think about where the tires are. So the trick is, you line up with this cone right here. Once you clear that pivot point, you should be good in the back. You line up with this point right here. You want to get that bad boy right in front of your bus. Try to get as close as you can and maneuverability, you know, so don't get like super on it where you can't go. Get close and be able to maneuver. All right. Once you get that bad boy nice and close, cock that bad boy over to the right, and the bus will start coming over. Head for the second one, bring it up, bring it over. Head for the third one. See, look, I'm already messing it up. Ignore that. Yeah. Head for the third one, bring it up. All right. And as you can see, now we're lined up. It's kind of hard because you got this shadow here. See if I can get rid of some of that shadow. You can see we've on the right hand side, we've cleared this first set of cones. We've got a large gap between our left cone, or the bus, and the right cone, and we're lined up for that last cone. All you're gonna do, again, you're still cocking it hard. Bring it over and clear. This is my setup. Don't ignore that. And clear that last cone. Once you clear it, just straighten it out, and you should be able to clear those cones on the right. So remember, the important thing is to set up at this point to where you have the front of the bus facing straight into that first set of cones. And then you're basically progressing. Straight, bringing it over, straight, bringing it over, straight, bringing it up, straight. And then once you bring it over, you should clear all these cones. This is just my bad setup, but you get the idea. Okay? So that's my long video on, that's the augmented alley right there, and you gotta clear the back. So if you guys have any further questions, tell me if you enjoyed my little demonstration here, and I'll keep trying to upload some videos. All right, talk to you guys later.